Hey guys, now that my kids are back in school and we are back to our regular schedule, I have reinstated my Sunday night dinners. It is something that keeps our family so sane throughout the school year. So I wanted to share a recipe that we make on Sunday nights that is really delicious and easy. It is for my fantastic chicken piccata. It is a classic. It also pairs really well with my mashed potato recipe or my smashed potato recipe. And lucky enough, both those are in the same video. So I'll leave you a link in the description if you want to know how to make those as well. Okay, so I'm gonna be working with pounded chicken cutlets. And about 30 minutes before you plan to cook them, I would season both sides with salt and pepper. That will just help the chicken become really tender and juicy. The salt just does wonders to chicken, especially if you can do it in advance. Then on a large dinner plate, you wanna add a 1/4 cup of just all-purpose flour and a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. If you couldn't find Italian seasoning, you could just use dried basil or oregano or a little bit of both. And then just whisk that all together with a fork so it's combined. Then take your chicken cutlet and dredge it through the flour. You just wanna make sure that it's lightly coated on each side, and you can transfer that to a plate. Then in the skillet, we're going to add a tablespoon of olive oil and a tablespoon of butter. I like to use the combination of both because then that way the chicken stays nice and soft and tender and doesn't get too scorched from just the olive oil. And if you just use the butter, it would burn really quickly. So using the combination of both gets a nice sear on it, but also prevents it from smoking and burning. We're not trying to cook the chicken all the way through at this stage. So if it's golden brown but not cooked through, that's okay. There's another step to this that they're gonna actually get cooked through. Then we're going to deglaze our pan with 1/2 cup of white wine and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Then you want to reduce this mixture by half, and that will take a few minutes. Now, if you don't drink, I would just deglaze the pan with the lemon juice. I used to do that a lot when I was pregnant, and I wasn't cooking with wine. And then you would just increase the chicken broth. So we're gonna add 1 cup of chicken broth, but if you weren't using the wine, I would use 1.5 cups. And then we're also going to add 2 garlic cloves that have been minced. And then I would just reduce this down slightly to maybe 1/3. Then we are gonna thicken our sauce with a slurry. So a slurry is basically just water and cornstarch, equal amounts. And if you've ever tried to do this and it didn't work, it could be for a few reasons. And I'm gonna share with you my tips because it can be a little bit finicky. Tip number 1 is your water has to be very, very cold. So make sure when you combine 1 tablespoon of cornstarch with 1 tablespoon of water, that water is very cold. If you use room temperature water or hot water, the cornstarch will not activate and you'll just end up with a thin sauce. So that's tip number 1. Then do not add this mixture to your sauce until your sauce is at a nice sort of boiling simmer. You need to make sure you see some bubbles in that sauce. Otherwise it means the sauce is not hot enough and it will not activate the cornstarch and you'll still end up with a thin sauce. So once you see it bubbling, that's the time to pour it in. Then give it a whisk. I would cook it for about a minute. That will just get rid of that kind of cornstarch flavor and let that thickening agent activate. And then reduce the temperature just slightly because if you let it go too far and it continues to boil, it will actually turn the sauce thin again. It will deactivate the activation. So you wanna make sure that you don't take it too far. Then at this stage, you're gonna swirl in a tablespoon of butter. This is just gonna create a really rich and velvety smooth sauce. 1 to 2 tablespoons of capers. I like to go 2 tablespoons, but if you're feeding this to kids, sometimes just 1 tablespoon is all they can kind of handle, which my kids seem to call green peas. They don't like the green peas. They're a little lemony. And 2 tablespoons of freshly chopped Italian parsley. And you can whisk that in. Then you can add your chicken breasts back in and let them either cook through or warm through. That's all you have to do. Then I like to get a large platter, place the chicken breasts in the center, and just pour that delicious sauce on top. And then for a little bit of garnish, I like to take a little bit more of the flat leaf parsley and just sprinkle that through the center. And when you cut into that chicken, you will see how moist and tender it is. It is such a great Sunday night dinner. And I highly recommend it with one of my potato recipes. So you can click this annotation and I'll see you over there and I'll show you how to make both of them.